What's going on, people? Myke C-Town here with another episode of The Playlist. The first episode I did maybe about a month ago, and this is where I take 4 or 5 albums that have come out recently, and I give kind of mini reviews of the albums, and this is kind of because I really just don't have the time to do separate videos for everything that I listen to that I want to share with you guys, so this is better than nothing. But before I get into the reviews, I'm letting you guys know that this video is being sponsored by The Coldest Water, a company that makes these awesome water bottles that keep your water cold for up to 36 hours. They feature no sweat technology and they are odor proof. So if you want a chance to win one of your own, there's a link down there in the description section for a giveaway. Or if you want to just buy one of your own straight out, there's also a link down there where you can check out the shop and you can use my code to get 10% off your entire order. Alright, so let's get into it. So the first album I'm going to talk about today is Spiritworld's Pagan Rhythms. So they're a band from Los Angeles, and prior to this album they did this kind of interesting version of Western music, kind of similar to the cowboy punk stuff that the Super Suckers were doing. But this album is completely different. This one is kind of metallic, Holy Terror hardcore, very similar to Seasons in the Size of Days era Integrity. And it starts off with the title track, Pagan Rhythms, and this shit sounds straight out of 1997 in the absolute best way possible. The opening riff is so fucking good, man, and every riff from there is just great. The breakdown on this song is super mean, and the first time I heard this, man, I had the stank face the whole time. On the song Bringer of Light, that second riff sounds straight out of Seasons. It's so good. The song Unholy Passages starts off with some extremely violent blast beat followed by some old school death metal riffage. It sounds like some old Benediction type shit, and I don't care if I sound like a corny hesher, but this is a circle pit jam. And the way it moves into one of the meanest breakdowns I've heard in a really long time, it's so good. The song Night Terrors has some straight up Slayer riffage that you just can't help but bang your head to, man. This album is seriously so good. There's not a snoozy moment on the whole thing. Every song rips. There's some great riffs, pissed off drumming that's high in the mix but sounds great. You can tell that this dude is playing his ass off. It sounds like he's hitting the drums so hard. Furious and gruff vocals. The recording is stellar. Everything sounds super clean without sounding too clean to the point of watering down the music. It has that perfect, dirty, metallic hardcore production, and I'm just in love with this album. I feel like if you're a fan of Integrity or Ringworm or that band Withdrawal or really any of the prime era metallic hardcore stuff, then you have to hear this album. It's easily one of my favorite things to drop this year. The next album I'm going to talk about is Ulver's Flowers of Evil. This is one that I was seriously looking forward to. And before you guys start typing, this isn't black metal over. No, it's not black metal over. Get the fuck over it, alright? It's been like, what, 20 years? Shut up. This one starts off with the silky synths on One Last Dance and Chris's incredible voice. And these lyrics are fantastic. We have seen the burden God has laid upon the human race, all the oppression that has taken place under the sun. He tests us so that we may see we're just like the animals, all go to the same place, all come from dust and to dust return. And when the beat really comes in, it's just glorious, man. And I feel like Chris's voice gets better and better with every album. Machine Guns and Peacock Feathers is easily one of my favorite songs on the album. The kind of chunky guitars with the keyboard lick, it's just so well done. And I love the vocal patterns here. It's really, really catchy. And the addition of the female vocals towards the end of the song, it really brings everything together right before it ends. Apocalypse 1993 starts with this retro backdrop, these gorgeous keyboard passages, and this chorus that's just beautiful. The 80s electro feel of Little Boy, the way the song progresses, the drum fills, the subtle guitar work, it's amazing. I'm sorry, but I feel like this album is perfect. They're taking krautrock and they're mixing 80s new wave and synthwave stuff in there, and there's these deep elements of ambient electronica. I love how lavish this album sounds without being too layered to the point of having too much going on. I like how it's a bit more stripped back than The Assassination of Julius Caesar, which is an amazing album on its own. But this album is stripped back with a purpose. You know, it sounds like every sound and every note, every moment, every bit of space on this record has a focus. You know, it's just an incredible masterpiece, and it's easily one of my favorites of the year. If you haven't yet, make sure you order a copy from House of Mythology. They also just released a book about Ulver, and I cannot wait for mine to show up. The next album I'm going to talk about is Cambatta with LSD, Lunar, Solar, Duality. This is a new album out on Mellow Music Group, and I've never heard of this guy before, but I was attracted to the album cover because it reminded me of this incredible string band album that I love. And yeah, it starts off with Blood Moon with this super dark production that sounds like a horror movie soundtrack. And on this song, he says, "I've always been this talented at rap. Only recently are niggas on me like I got a saddle on my back." I feel like that shit was directed at me personally. You know what I'm saying? I apologize, all right? I just found you, but I'm here now. He immediately reminds me a bit of Ka, but angrier, like gruffer, nastier. When he said, "Slaughter pigs on this redneck farm, wake 'em up with a FedEx bomb, separate head, neck, arm, chest, legs gone, body parts everywhere like on sex ed walls, med-ex called." Woo wee! That shit was nasty, man. And on 33, he's going through different moments of his life at various ages, and it's over this really weird production. The sample is really nice, and the drums are sporadic, but they're really, really dope. I was 9 when I shot my first 9 in the backyard with my Uncle John. Them was good times. I was 10 when I lost my best friend to a stray bullet that I heard was fired out that same 9. Like, this dude's wordplay is just incredible, man. And the song, it features Kenny Buttons, who I'm not familiar with, but his chorus, it sounds like angels singing. Like, oh my fucking God, his voice is beautiful. And when the song ends on the line, "Finally they murdered me at 33, nigga Christ, you heard of me," which leads into the next song, "Nigga Christ." It's so good, man. The beat comes in with these strings and these hard ass drums, and the way he's rhyming over the song is incredible. It was at this moment that I really wanted to punch myself, because I was like, how have I never heard of this guy before? Like, how are people not flipping out and talking more about this guy? Or maybe I'm just not following the right people. I don't know, but either way, listen to this song and listen for that Macklemore line, and then come back and tell me how mean that shit was. All right, that's your homework. I wasn't big on the song Numerical. The auto-tune doesn't really work for me. It kind of breaks up the vibe of the album, which I am assuming was intentional, so it's not a big gripe. Grant Number Theorem is dumb good as well. The sample in this fit really nice, and the buzzed out bass sounds great, and Cambatta's lyrics over this are so bizarre, man. This number stuff that he's doing, it kind of reminds me of what like Vinny Paz would have done back in the day when he was still going by Icon the Hologram. But the way Cambatta lays the verses down is really, really creative. His flow pattern here, it's awkward to follow, but it sounds so dope. The song LSD. The fact that he's making an entire song using the acronym LSD to mean a whole different things in every bar, it's so good. And every time I let semen drop, I create a legacy of super demigods. I'm Luke Skywalker's daddy, my red lightsaber's Darth, my laboratory secluded and dark. I'm done. This album is incredible. Like, seriously incredible. The production is amazing. It's varied while still keeping a dark vibe throughout. The rapping is just top notch. He's got a really unique style and approach to rapping that spoke to me immediately. I'm loving this album, and I'd love for it to be getting a lot more attention than it seems to be. Alright, so the last album we're going to talk about in this episode of the playlist is going to be the album from Be Well, entitled The Weight and the Cost. Be Well is a band that I totally missed. One of my good friends hit me up and was like, you need to give this a listen immediately. Apparently it's members of Ashes, Battery, Darkest Hour, Converge, and Bane, so I was all the way interested. In the second this album starts, you can tell it's Brian McTernan singing. He also sang in Battery, and while his voice has changed, or maybe just the way he sings has changed a bit, you can still spot them. The music is melodic hardcore, great riffs that at times remind me of Dag Nasty, fast galloping drums. The lyrics are very personal and well written. I am barely awake. Surely I've tried to self-medicate. I know that the cost will be a new kind of pain. I just wish I knew another way. Strength for Breath is a standout song. It's fast-paced. It gives you almost a Youth Crew kind of vibe, and Brian's vocals sound especially great here. He goes from these pained yells to this really melodic singing, and it works really well. And the breakdown towards the end of the song is just great. It kind of reminds me of a classic Chain of Strength breakdown. The title track, The Weight and the Cost, is a heavy one. Not heavy as in the way it sounds, but in the way it feels. When it starts, it almost feels like a saves the day kind of song, but it's a really self-reflective song, and the lyrics really hit. If I had known that it would hurt this bad to wake up, I'm not sure I would have. It breaks my heart that it makes you so sad, and to think of the life that you probably could have had. If I had known that it would hurt this bad to try to make sense of the thoughts in my head, I'm running out of words, and for those that I've hurt, I'm not who I wish I were. Beautiful, beautiful lyrics. Frozen is another standout song. The chunky guitars on certain parts and the soft vocals remind me of Quicksand in the best way possible. The really sensitive feeling on Aperture, the hook on this song is so fucking real that it would be totally normal if it brought even the toughest hardcore kid to tears. Here I am, like before, anxious and insecure. Something has felt wrong inside of me since the day I was born. Here I am, like before. I'll try to find a way, but I'm afraid that there might not be a cure. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm scared that you'll hate me for it one day when I'm gone. This is such a great record. The music here can come off as fairly standard hardcore, but there's something special about this. Listening to this album, it makes me feel like I'm at a show. You know what I mean? Like when the drums are doing those intro rolls, you can feel yourself there. You know, the gang vocals that they have on this album, you can feel like you're in the room. This is just an incredibly authentic album. Like the Spanish Love Songs album that I spoke about in the previous video, this one speaks to the aging hardcore kid in me. The one that may suffer from depression or self-doubt or just the realization that we're getting old and may not be living up to the best version of ourselves that we thought we could. It's an incredibly passionate record, a real and honest record, and I'm in love with it. So that's gonna do it for this episode of the playlist. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Drop some comments down there with some albums that have come out recently that you've been listening to a lot. And if you've heard any of these albums, make sure you let me know what you guys think of them. But yeah, as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out, boy.